A lovely passage, and one I would like to preach on, and I am not going to today. Likewise, 1 Corinthians 12, a rich passage that deserves a fulsome 25 minutes that you will not get from me today, other than to say they speak to the fact that we are called in different ways, each of us individually at different times, to do things by God for the church, and that amongst those callings, amongst the spiritual things, are hospitality service and putting on wine. So all of these things are the sorts of things that a church that seeks to follow the work of the Spirit and has a beer festival might be inspired so to do. It speaks of there being joy in service. The more I talk, the less time we're going to get to do what we need to do. It's our jobs fair. It's a chance to talk to the people who do the different jobs in the church, for you to explore that for two reasons. On the one hand, you could talk to these people if you're thinking about doing that. If you have a hankering to preach, you could have a word with Richard and find out what sort of process he goes through to preach. If you got that one, Sarah, you're ready to go for the how to preach one. If you do not want to do that, you could still have a word with Richard because you are interested in what it is like to do that and to understand what somebody who does serve in that way in our church, because who doesn't want to know how we go about organising the sacristy table and the churchyard and the dementia cafe and youth work and things like that. You don't have to have conversations with people so you can do the job. You might just want to know what it is that we do here. Not just what do you do, what do you love, and how well does it work? So there's two opportunities. What do you need to know to make a decision about how you could muck in here? And if you're full, or you're beyond doing many of those practical things, have a conversation with people, because it's nice to know, right? If you don't want to move around even, then you should feel free to stay and worship and sing and pray and hold us all in your prayer. But if you read this, you will see there's lots of things on our big long list of all the things that we do that only involve you turning up on a Sunday, praying, worshipping, being nice to each other, things like that. We're all involved. Nobody gets to tick nothing on this, even if we're not doing anything other than praying for each other. So, chance to do all of that, to have a word with the people who are doing these things. Bear in mind, you can tick the yes, I would like to do that, and the well, I'll do that if I need you to. Things to draw your attention to, everything, obviously. Whatever God is saying to you, here I am, Lord, or what does he say when you do that? You might want to have a word with Carol. This is Carol, our administrator. You might not have met Carol yet. She's over there. You might just want to meet her, because we hear a lot about her, and she sends you lots of emails, and you can know how the rotas work. I would point you to Lizzie and Harriet to talk about youth work. Youth work is really important. With people, we didn't have enough volunteers for coffee shop. We've closed coffee shop for now, and I hope that it will come back. If we don't have enough volunteers for youth work, me and Lizzie will not be doing sermons and just go out and do youth work, because that is really important. So if we don't have enough people to do that, that's a priority. And then the second service, Olivia, to talk to you about kids work. You should know that Rachel is here, and you can talk to her about dementia stuff. Kim is on placement. Paul is here with Sue. Paul was a vicar for years. You could talk to him, therefore, about anything that happens in the church, because he knows what's going on. Toby's going to come down. You can talk to him about how we make screens work and things like that. Shirley's been praying and reading in church for years. People do things. Have a word with them, whether or not you want to do them. This is my invitation to you. So we're going to do this for about 10 or 15 minutes. I'll make sure you've got one of these so you can have a read and a think and a pray, and no pressure, but an invitation to discern together what it is that we do here. Oh, Steve's here. Steve plays music with us. We're going to give you a taste later. Do you want to be in the band? Ask Steve how that works. If I point anyone else out, we'll feel awkward, won't we? Margaret's here. Gift aid, giving, finances, the various things that she does. Open the book. She's got about 8 things on her list. Brenda's here. Schools work, being a church warden, not being a church warden. She stopped doing that for at least a little bit. All sorts of things. Find somebody. Have a chat. We'll have just over 10 minutes. I invite you to examine what the Lord of Sea and Sky is calling you to. We could do that all day. I'm so pleased to see conversations going on. And I don't mind if they were conversations about how can I help, or just conversations about what do you do? That must be interesting. The big news, of course, is that you don't have to only do this once every 2 years on a Sunday morning. We've always got time and talent sheets, and it's always good to ask people what they do and what they love And it's always good to be asking God, what does he have for you to do? It doesn't change very often. You do the same thing all week, all year, for years. But then sometimes he says, I think you need to have a go at this. Especially as you're growing older. I look forward to the day that Isla or Evelyn are preaching for us and they need a conversation about how that works. If you didn't get all the conversation you wanted, we're doing this again at the second service, so feel free to stick around. But thank you for prayerfully considering the best use of your time and talent. And I suppose, finally, I should say, of course, if this is the time for you to stop doing something, that's fine too. We want it to be a joy.